we have the one we call the computer, Deputy Teibowei. He's on the line now. Computer, how are you?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Okay. First of all, how is the lockdown in Yenagoa?
Very, very unpleasant situation, but we can't help it. We just have to abide by instructions and stay home.
Okay. But you guys are indoors?
Well, we are indoors, but we move around the area within the vicinity. So, but we are indoors. There's no work, so we have to stay at home, and then just play around the vicinity.
Okay. All right. Okay. For those who are watching, computer, I just want to take a few minutes to just take us through back, because we are in a situation these days where it is difficult to churn out players, and Nigerians are going to import even the youth players to our national team. But that wasn't how it was. In those days, there used to be a grinding machine called Youth Phone. I don't know, but can you take us through how you were part of this? Which tournament did you play? How were you? How did you get into Youth Phone? Which coaches tutored you, and how? Can we just take a few minutes and do that?
Yeah, thank you very much. With Youth Phone, we had a lot of youth clubs then in Lagos, particularly in the Ajegunle area, where Tony Eke was the brain behind Youth Phone. And he was able to get a lot of young players that later became the Youth Phone pioneer team that went to Sweden in 1980 to win the World Youth Championships in Gothenburg, Sweden.
Okay, you guys went to Sweden, and then there was also the Dallas Cup, and there was also the Dallas Cup in the USA. Hello, computer.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I said there was you just talked about the Gothia Cup in Sweden, 1980. What of the Dallas Cup? When was that?
Yeah, Dallas Cup was in Texas. That's 1981. After the Gothia Cup in 1980, a lot of youth competitions opened up. Then we have Dana Cup in Denmark. We have Dallas Cup in Texas, USA, and we have other in Aberdeen. We have Scotland. So all these competitions were able. And then the able later President Shehu Shagari.
Okay, talking about the Shagari Cup in 1983. You guys were part of the Shagari Cup. But let's look at it this way. You were in school then. Which school were you attending then in Lagos? You were in school playing.
I was precisely my first year in University of Lagos. That was 1983. After the 1980 Cup, 1983 we played the Shagari Cup in Lagos. And we became the eventual winners of that cup. It was called ECOWAS Cup anyway.
Okay, it was called ECOWAS Cup.
But then it's called ECOWAS Cup. I was in Unilag then, first year University of Lagos.
All right. You were in Unilag and also playing over there. But before, let us now look at your playing career. You played for a lot of clubs in Lagos and Nigeria. How many clubs did you play for? Can you take us through your professional playing career in Nigeria?
Well, my playing career started as far back as 1979, when I was about to leave my secondary school. I started with M Marine and General Insurance Company. Then I moved there to NET, Nigeria External Telecommunications. From there to Wema Bank FC Lagos. From Wema Bank, I moved to NEPA Lagos. From NEPA Lagos, I moved down to Julius Berger Lagos. I played NEPA Lagos 3 years, Julius Berger Lagos 4 years, played ACB 1 year before moving down to GIB Rocks of Jos in Plateau State. And then from there, I was transferred to Shooting Stars, in 1990 when Nigeria started the fully professional football on a full-time basis.
Okay, computer. Yes, something happened in that transfer from JIB Rocks to Shooting Stars. What is it? What happened?
Yeah, what actually happened was that we were aware that Nigeria was going to go for full-time professional football. So we had an agreement with late Lai Olagbemiro, the secretary of JIB Rocks of Jos, that if the country goes on full-time professional football, we will have to renegotiate the terms and contract. But it didn't happen, so I left out of anger. I just wanted to go back home and sit down. But on my way coming back, Josie Lad intercepted when he had the story that I must come to Shooting Stars. And then myself and Andrew Uti we made up our minds and went back to Shooting Stars.
And in doing that, you became the first players to do your mid-season transfer in Nigerian football.
Yeah, we were the first player to be transferred from any professional club in Nigeria, myself and Andrew Uti. That was the first of its kind in Nigeria.
From JIB Rocks to Shooting Stars. Okay,
yes,
take us again from Shooting Stars. How did your career move?
In Shooting Stars, I played with just 1 year, and then my hometown came for me. Sharks of Port Harcourt came for me with everything they wanted me. So I had to go to Sharks. Then from Sharks, I moved to Calabar Rovers. From Calabar Rovers to Concord FC. From Concord FC back to Sharks. From Sharks, I went out to Malaysia to start my professional football career.
All right.
At the age of 31.
You went to Malaysia, and then I think that club is called Terengganu, if I'm right.
Terengganu FC. Yeah.
Terengganu FC. Okay, but you were there also with Peter Neketem and who I think there were about 3 of you that were there, Nigerians were there.
Yes. Myself, Peter Neketem, and John Onwudegu.
Okay.
John Onwudegu.
John Onwudegu, Peter Neketem, and yourself. All right. Was there any significant difference between the football clubs in Malaysia and those in Nigeria in terms of standard, in terms of coaching, in terms of facilities?
In terms of facilities, coaching, there's a big difference. Big difference, because they were playing full-time professional football, and then they have so fantastic facilities that cannot be compared to Nigeria. Even in terms of welfare of players, Malaysia was fantastic. It's just that the standard of play there, Nigeria, we had a little bit higher and tougher, but in Malaysia, it was not bad. It was okay. It was good. It was full-time. It was real professional football like in Europe.
Okay. The talents were better, but the facilities, in Malaysia were better than us, according to you. But let's take it a notch. Let's take it a notch further. What did you do with West Ham? You were with West Ham in England.
Yes. When I retired from playing international football, professional football, I decided to go into coaching. And after my first badge, my coaching badge in the UK, I was fortunate to get scouted by West Ham to work with them. So I was working with West Ham as a youth development coach and a community coach and our role then was for us to go into the communities and scout for talented players and then recommend them to the academies. What we do after discovering these talents, we have a place what we call a development squad. We take them to development squad. After that, we progress them to the performance squad. Then they start playing with the academies. From there, most of them went to the academies. The likes of Lampard, Joe Cole, Jermaine Defoe, Michael Carrick, they were all, part of that era at West Ham. Okay.
All right. I want to take it this way. You also worked briefly with the English FA in this particular regard in how you go to the financial aspect of grassroots football. How does that work? I mean, how do they empower grassroots football? How and what was your role in this?
Yes, because of my connection with West Ham and my football experience, I got this job, came up with the Football Foundation as finance officer initially. And then I applied for the job because I was doing coaching then on part-time. With West Ham, I was not a full-time coach. I was a part-time coach. So I needed a full-time job to take care of the bills. So I got this job and I applied for it. Immediately, there was no rejection there. I got the job and then I was working as a finance officer of the Football Foundation. The Football Foundation was created to fund grassroots football and to improve facilities in the UK and Wales. So I was the finance officer. So I had dealings with all the professional clubs. I had dealings with all clubs in the UK, Wales. So it was a very, very good experience before I became the finance manager. And then finally, came back home, courtesy of Samson Siasia as the first academy director of Siasia Academy.
Okay, but we want to close this interview. With all this experience you have, why is it difficult to replicate this? You are in Bielsa, and funding of grassroots football and other things, you did it in England. Why is it impossible to be done here?
Well, in Bielsa, we are doing our best. I remember I came in 2007 with Bielsa, courtesy of the government, to do scouting and development. I came with some coaches, some white coaches from Man United and West Ham. And we were able to come to Nigeria to do that scouting program in Bayelsa State. We got 40 talented players. But, the Nigerian government's instability. When we got back, we were about to take these players to Europe and showcase them. But what happened was that government changed and everything went off. So it's just a typical of Nigerian situation. Every time you have a program going on, change comes in. If it's not positive, just like recently I took the Bayelsa Restoration team to Cape Verde. Under 2 weeks, we're able to come out third position in the first African Youth Soccer Championship in Cape Verde. So those core crop of boys are still around, but the way forward. And so what I'm thinking now is to recommend these boys to become the feeders team of Bayelsa United, because I'm the technical advisor of Bayelsa United today, and I know that, God's willing, with the new administration, I think I have some leverage. I will be able to push that through. So these boys will have a chance to play at least some form of football and then progress into the Bayelsa United team, and from there, maybe the national team.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Computer. We shall still come back to you under these COVID issues. Thank you for being our guest this morning. Okay, we are going. That is Computer. We call him Computer Deep Teibowei, and taking us live those experiences at this time. We probably need them to see where we can get into from them. But we're going on a very, very short break. And when we come back, the show continues.